In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to America in Black and White, Season 4, Episode 23. Let me start out by doing our Black History reflection. Our reflection today is on Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass taught us that liberation begins with literacy, courage, and the refusal to accept the world as it is. Born into bondage, yet destined for brilliance, Douglass transformed his voice into a weapon of truth, challenging systems, inspiring movements, and redefining what it means to be free. His life reminds us that leadership is not merely a title, it is a responsibility. It is a willingness to stand up in the gap, to elevate others, and to cultivate the conditions where people can thrive. Douglass believed that if there is no struggle, there is no progress. And tonight we honor that spirit by highlighting leaders who build, uplift, and transform communities through service and vision. So, good evening, family. And we will start the show now by let me give you guys this opening to our great guest. We welcome another powerful episode of America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight we're diving into a conversation about leadership that doesn't just manage, it cultivates. Leadership that doesn't just direct, it inspires. Leadership that doesn't just build programs, it builds people. Our guest tonight embodies that philosophy. He is a man who understands that quality of life is not accidental, it is intentional. It is cultivated through service, vision, and a commitment to elevating communities. From the recreation centers of Atlanta to the executive boardrooms shaping regional sports and economic development, he has dedicated his life to creating spaces where people can grow, connect, and thrive. Tonight, we welcome a leader who stands firmly at the intersection of purpose and performance. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Redmond. Hello, sir. Hello? Jason. Hello? Mr. Redmond. Mr. Redmond? Okay, you were in and out, and your picture is it's like your screen is frozen. Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Me now?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Your screen was frozen. Okay. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I can see it fine now. Sorry about that.
To the show. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into
Me.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
No, I'm ready to dive straight into the show and to the question.
Yes, sir. Well, I want to start first by I want to give the people opportunity to get the chance to know a little bit more about Jason Redmond, the man you were before you got to this point now in this great leadership role that you're doing, with the communities. What early experiences shaped your understanding of leadership and service?
To shape my my view of leadership. From the early childhood to be by a strong family, strong mother, siblings. I was able to carry them um, my high school year, my college years, and until my career.
Did your family instill in you that still guide your work today? Mr. Redmond? Yeah, I said growing up. Yes, growing up. What values did your family instill in you that still guide your work today?
Integrity, um, 1,000% to the best.
Bringing influence your passion for recreation, sports, and community engagement.
Can you repeat that question?
Bringing influence your passion for recreation, sports, and community engagement.
Well, that's just it. What you? I'm a big parks and recreation kid. I would say my um, while we were out of school, my summers from there going to the swimming pool, from there going to the library, from there just being involved in community. That was something that was embedded in, and again, I was able to tap into that as a kid, and professional career as I went through college and went through high school.
The moment you realized you wanted to dedicate your life to public service. Mr. Redmond, can you hear me?
Yes, you're freezing, Mr. King. Your camera keeps freezing. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Uh, what was the moment you realized you wanted to dedicate your life to public service? Can you see if you can try to reboot your camera?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Can you hear me much better?
Yeah, I can. What I'm gonna do is get off this other device,
Okay.
and we're gonna use this device. All right, you have me?
Yes, sir.
All
I
right,
got you.
all right. We can go with this device.
Yes, sir. So, as I was asking you before, what was the moment you realized you wanted to dedicate your life to public service?
Um, that's a great question, Mr. King. I would say probably um, as I was funneling through, probably towards my senior year in college. Some of the work that I did involved a lot of coaching, a lot of community service with kids, and so there I found a niche and figured out how much I like to work with kids, especially from a coaching perspective. With me being a former athlete, it kind of felt natural to me. So I think at that moment in time is when I figured out that this is one of those things that I can do that didn't quite feel like a job, but I was working. So it just fit my personality well, fit my background well. So I was able to translate that very seamlessly.
Does that mean that, for the connections that you have with the kids, have you built that rapport based on your lifelong experiences as a kid growing up from the rec leagues to your career right now?
Absolutely. One of the mantras that I have, and I have two boys and a daughter. My boys were very close in terms of the interaction that we have and the experiences that we had. They're both athletes, and one of the things as I move forward in life that I like to live by is be who you needed when you were younger. Lost my father at a very young age, so I know how that feels not to have a father present, not by choice, but by an act of God, act of nature. And so that was something that always stuck with me as I got older, and it was able to put myself in a position to give back. And that's not giving back is not so much always a financial thing. It's my time, it's my experiences, it's my knowledge that I'm able to give, it's my guidance, it's my mentorship. So these were all things that I knew that I was lacking as I grew up. And it was that, what I wanted to pour back into the community.
To Atlanta for 22 years shaped your identity and leadership style.
Yeah, say the beginning of that question again.
How has living in Metro Atlanta for 22 years shaped your identity and leadership style?
It's helped me become more well-rounded. Atlanta is a big place. Metro Atlanta is a big place. The opportunity here is vast. It's greater. You're able to have more experiences with people and just see some things from a different lens. So it's been able to allow me to be able to spread my wings, so to speak, to be able to network with people in different arenas, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. So all that has played a part in me being in Atlanta for 2 decades and being able to merge my experiences with my environment here.
When you think about that from a cultural perspective, what has the cultural perspective been for you as well as your work?
It's been interesting. It's been good. The rapport that I've been able to build with different backgrounds and different cultures, I think that's like something that's a specialty of mine. I don't meet strangers. I get along with everyone, but it's a sense of seeking first to understand, then to be understood. When I meet people, understanding their situation, understanding their variables that's have them moving in the direction that they're moving in. So really love meeting people, getting to know them, learning more about their background, their culture, where they're from, how things are done from their world. So that's been something I've thoroughly enjoyed.
So, what role did sports play in your development as a young man?
Everything. Sports is, I always say sports is life. It teaches you adversity. You have to respond quickly. You don't have a lot of time to hang your head. It teaches you the beauty of teamwork while also having an individual responsibility. So to me, again, I've been able to make that correlation from the experiences and the childhood experiences that I've had into professional realm. I played football and basketball, and I played quarterback in football and point guard in basketball. So I was always responsible for everyone. And no matter
Yeah.
what sport I was playing, I had to know where every player was on the football field, where the receivers were running, what plays to call, what audibles to call, how to recognize something quickly to make a change. And then playing basketball as a point guard, you learn very quickly how to motivate individuals. There's five of us on the floor. You learn who you have to push, who you have to scream at, who you have to be gentle with, who hand you have to hold. So again, it's all been able to correlate into to the person I am today and what I do today.
From your childhood that you'll carry into every leadership role.
One memory from my childhood that I would carry into every
One lesson.
one lesson, um, approaching things with an open mind, never reading the book by its cover. You just never know what people are going through. You never know where they come from, and you never know where they want to go. And crossing paths with people for me, and I'll say this became me at a young age. It became about what can I do to help, or how can we help each other. So that's a lesson that I've been able to take with me, and it's been the center of part of what I do as I work in the community.
Okay. So let's transition over to your work as the executive director of the Georgia Regional Sports Council.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about what does it mean to lead the Georgia Regional Sports Council at this moment in time?
Oh, it's great. It's we just started in 2023. We formed the sports council in 2023. It's been a roller coaster ride. Things went very fast, very quick, and it's been great. We service right now 9 counties east of Atlanta, and being able to be a part or delve into the communities of 9 different counties and all the different communities that are in those counties. Um, it's a challenge, but it's also a joy because it's again, my competitive nature allows the challenge to be joyful for me. So understanding how the communities work, understanding the niches that are there, understanding what's needed in each community, and being able to help it from an economic development standpoint, for me, I think is big. And that's one of the most important things that I focus on is the economic development of the different communities that I'm able to touch.
This like since you're working with 9 counties, what
Mhm.
is the commonality or the one thing that you see most that connects each of those communities together?
I would say the need for education as it relates to local government policies, economic development, how those processes work. And I'm big on education, big on breaking things down where people can actually like grasp what's being said to them. It's not over their head. So that's a big commonality that I see in every community that I work with. It's the education piece of everything, and helping. Everybody has a want and everybody has a need. They don't necessarily know how to get that want or get to that need. So being able to educate them on how your local government can work for you to assist them in getting that want or getting that need.
So, how do sports drive economic growth and community identity in East Metro Atlanta?
Sports tourism is a 70, 80, 90 billion dollar industry a year. That's huge. Um, like I said, my kids play sports. Um, if at all possible, we're not going to miss a game. You're going to pay whatever you have to pay to go watch your child play. And I'm not sure if people look at it in that aspect because they're just enjoying watching their child play. But it generates revenue, and so that's one of the biggest things, to generate revenue. You and I sitting on this call tonight, we're both taxpayers. No one likes to pay high taxes, and so sports tourism can help with that. There's in the community that I live in, there's a neighboring facility in South Carolina, in the neighboring state, and the community's makeup is very similar to my community. And they put a facility there that, during COVID, the facility made during COVID $31 million during COVID.
Wow.
The year after COVID, it made $32 million. And in 2024, after COVID had kind of slid off, it made $62 million. So that money goes into your general fund. That money alleviates the taxpayers from having to reach down in their pockets so far to pay their property taxes. And so again, the education of being able to explain that to citizens and constituents and parents and fans and those who want, have that commonality of, want to take care of their family and want to save as much money as possible. I think that's important to help them understand that.
So if you can, that's really cool. I like that whole idea. What have you seen as in with the new council? And I know that it's only like maybe 7, 8 years or so,
Mhm.
but are you seeing any kind of community impact or economic impact that's making a difference in the communities?
Absolutely. Yes, we're seeing some impact. We are tracking numbers. We track a lot of data, from increased hotel stays to increased restaurants. Been able to form partnerships with a lot of the restaurants in the local areas so that when organizations come to the area, when people bring teams here, that they have some type of break or some type of incentive for bringing their organization or their event or their team to the areas that I service. So there's been impact. It also um, increases a sense of community. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to drive, 30, 40 miles to Atlanta to enjoy yourself. You can do it in your backyard. So being able to help them understand what you have available, what resources you have available, and how important it is to make sure that you keep those resources intact and make sure that those resources continue to grow, has been key into helping local government officials understand that.
Mhm. So, what is the long-term vision for the council under your leadership?
Under my leadership, the long-term vision is to make it a place, or these 9 counties especially, make them places of enjoyment, make them places where your quality of life is such, again, that you don't have to spend an hour in the car going to an event. Making your backyard and your neighborhood a place that you enjoy living, but doing it with, again, the partnership of local government with smart growth. You can't oversaturate areas by building, 20 million subdivisions of townhomes, 40 different neighborhood properties. You can't oversaturate, because then you're going to have a water issue, you're going to have a traffic issue, you're going to have roads issues. So, the philosophy with me as I lead the sports council is, make your place a place of to treat the visitors like grandparents. Everybody who has grandkids, they love their grandkids, but when the playtime's over, they go back home. So you come and visit, have a good time, go back home to your parents or go back to their residence where they live. So that's a big goal of mine, to make sure that that's done seamlessly with the 9 counties that I service, and then expanding those counties into more than 9. I'm doing some work with a young man in Memphis, Tennessee right now. As a matter of fact, we had a conference call Monday about a program that he's rolling out. So although, we're Georgia Regional Sports Council, we want to extend beyond our borders of the state as well.
So as you're looking right, as people are looking at the show right now tonight, what do you want the people that's out there in those 9 counties that you serve? What do you want them to know that you're going to do your best to make sure that they are comfortable with the work and what kind of work they should expect from you?
I think they should expect transparency. Um, I've been, spoken to about politics and running for certain offices, and my response is, I don't like politics. I like governance. So it's the difference. I'm not going to promise you that I can lower anything or fix anything. What I'm going to promise you is that this is the solution to what you're searching for, and we need to try to bring that solution to fruition. And so that's just being honest, straight up, straightforward, not selling people false dreams so that they can cast a vote or cast a ballot for you. So I think that's the biggest thing with me. You're going to get transparency, honesty, and education. To understand where we are in the process, what steps are needed, and the progress that we're making as we move along.
Community needs with regional economic goals.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
How do you balance community needs with regional economic goals?
Making sure you're in concert with the local leaders, especially your local economic development councils. Every area has them. Ensuring that you're all in concert with each other, so you're not like going against the grain and being redundant and repetitive with things. And I think everybody's goal is the same, basically, so to speak. Everybody's goal is the same in that meaning that the goal is to take the burden off of people every day. You got to think, as we age and get older, we're going to work less and less. The world is not going to stop moving. It's a lot of conversation now. I'll give you a perfect example about data centers. Mm-hmm. You have to educate yourself about what a data center is, and not look at and listen to CNN and Fox and what you see in Memphis and what Elon Musk put. Each community is different, and you have the authority as a citizen and as a person, as a constituent, to demand what you want to see in your community. There's a neighboring county next to me now, and Amazon is building a ginormous data center there. And one of the proposals is y'all can bring y'all data center, but y'all can pay our property taxes. So we're going to alleviate property taxes in the city, not in the county. Because if you live in the city, you got to pay city and county taxes. So when they eliminate the city taxes, those people in the city are going to have a huge break. And then that can eat, and the more that data center thrives and grows, that probably will spew over into the county. So again, just being able to understand, what's around us. The technology is going to come. I mean, everybody, again, the data centers is a hot topic, but you can't do nothing on this without a data center. You can't check your bank account. You can't watch Netflix. You can't listen to Spotify. You can't do anything. And so, as the world keeps moving, again, we got AI that's getting stronger and stronger. We got autonomous moving cars. So all that data has to be stored somewhere. Data centers have been around forever, but they're just getting buzz now because they're growing, because technology is growing. So again, the train is coming. How do we make the train fit in our community? How do we want the train to look? What type of train stops or bus stops do we want here? That's the mindset that you should have, in your community. That's the mindset to have as you're talking about economic development and smart growth.
East Metro Atlanta uniquely positioned for national and regional sporting events?
We're in the perfect place, away from all the traffic, away from the headache. Being east of Atlanta and having this sports council here east of Atlanta, we're also not pulling traffic from Atlanta, but also from Augusta, also from Lake Oconee, also from Greene County. So it's all coming to this area saturated. And the thing is, Mr. King, if you put the right facilities here, it's coming. The business is coming, the right traffic is coming, the right tenants are coming. You just have to make sure that, again, it fits in your community. Each community has different needs and different wants and different strengths. Strengths is as simple as the makeup of your community. Like community I live in is full of rocks, so you have to be careful what you put here, because you'll burn more money in construction trying to get rid of the rocks to run pipes in the ground than you would make a profit in the first 10 years. So knowing how your community is set up and knowing what can fit in your community is important. You have to be a visionary to understand that. You have to immerse yourself in the culture. You have to immerse yourself in the community, and you have to understand what the people's needs are. And through the Sports Council, I'm able to do that because sports are everywhere. And again, it's not going to stop. Sports, I learned this when I was in junior college, when I was a marketing major, and my teacher talked about product life. Sports does not have a product life. It's not going to begin and die. It's just going to keep going. It's cyclic. It's going to keep going and going and going. Kids are going to play sports. Adults are going to play sports. Adults are going to watch sports, football. We have the World Cup coming this year, which is ginormous, and that's going to be a huge economic impact on Metro Atlanta. So again, understanding how to capitalize off of the things that are really going to happen, whether we like it or not. Understanding how to capitalize on it is the important thing.
With the World Cup coming, because I know that that's going to be a big event for Metro Atlanta, and it's expanding really wide. What are you guys expecting? As far as economic empowerment for your area. What are you guys expecting, or what are you projecting?
To get some, more marketing about what we do in this area, to make sure that we're partnering again with the local community, with the local representatives. Make sure we're partnering with the local sports team, because again, you don't want to be repetitive. That's just being divisive, in my opinion. You're having the same event 10 miles away from each other. You're splitting the people instead of bringing the people together. So being able to just have things become seamless. Even doing some work with other counties. I've been in contact with Tucker quite a bit, some representatives in the city of Atlanta as well, about being able to like hold the same type of event, whether it's in Atlanta or whether it's east of Atlanta, but the same type of event from a perspective of distance, because you don't want to travel from Atlanta to come all the way over to Covington to have an event where you can have two of the same events there. So we're looking at things like that as we move forward. It's another big event. I don't want to spill the beans here. That happens in Kentucky. That's something that we're able to bring in Conyers, Georgia. So it's just, again, being creative, being the visionary, capitalizing on what's there is going to make all the difference.
So, how do you measure success in a role that blends tourism, recreation, and economic development?
One of my favorite quotes is, "Men lie, women lie, numbers don't." If you want to measure success, you measure the numbers. As I told you before, we track numbers, we track statistics, we track everything. So the honest measure of success, whether you like it or not, the numbers are going north, then that's successful in the perspective of what we're doing and the impact that we're trying to have from an economic perspective.
So, what partnerships have been most impactful in advancing the council's mission?
Great question. We've had some great support from some of our partners. DC Blocks is one of our platinum sponsors, and DC Blocks is a data center. Academy Sports has been another one that's been very supportive of our mission and what we're doing. Some of the local mom and pops have been very supportive as well. I know Courtesy Ford has helped out quite a bit. So again, being able to get the different industries and the different niches involved, again, is just broadening the horizon for what Sports Council does and how important sports tourism is in the community. So we want to keep working towards that. We got some conversations set up with some other sponsors whose names I don't want to mention right now because we're still in talks. But we're trekking in the right direction when I say that. So
Ensure that sports remain accessible and inclusive for all communities.
Proper facilities, making sure you have proper facilities. The inclusivity is huge. I'm glad you brought that word up. Making sure it's inclusive and it's equitable for everyone to enjoy, everyone to participate. Looking at the different initiatives again, the Miracle League fields. This one in Conyers, this one in Covington. The Special Olympics, they're everywhere. So again, being able to tap into the different areas with making sure that it's equitable for everyone to enjoy, or everyone to have an opportunity to become part of the sports tourism and part of the sports council.
To your work as director of Parks and Recreation for your county.
Mm-hmm.
What are your proudest accomplishments during your time as director of Parks and Recreation?
My proudest accomplishments is Parks and Recreation Director. I would start with the first one as being the logo that was created. There was no logo when I started as the Parks and Recreation Director. That logo is the face of the department now. Parks and Recreation, no matter what community you go in, it is the cornerstone of every community. Everyone wants, the best communities have beautiful parks, well-kept trails, up-to-date amenities that are inclusive and are kept up, and facilities that are kept in top-notch shape. So being able to, as Parks Director, being able to instill that logo was important to give the department a name with a face. And you just asked a minute ago about how do you measure certain things, and some things are one-offs. I tell you how I measured how well that logo was working. I was in a local store and I had on a sweatshirt with the logo on it, and a little girl pointed at my shirt and said, "Ooh, summer camp." And that told me there that if that stuck with that little girl, that it had to be sticking with adults. Yeah. She associated summer camp with seeing those four pictures that was embedded in the logo. And so that was one of my proudest accomplishments. Beyond that, it was just the growth that I saw as a parks director. When I came aboard, we were doing 10 special events per year. We went from 10 to 80 within a year. That gives your community something to come outside in their backyard and do that they're already paying for as citizens. You're already paying the taxes for it. Us providing the opportunity for them to come outside, come into their backyard, and have a good time and allow your kids to enjoy what's their resource, was very instrumental in some of the work and projects that I completed. And lastly, I really enjoyed there is a project that's not yet finished. It sits in the center of town, dubbed it the Lawn at Wheeler Park, and it's right in the middle of the walking path. But there, I was able again to partner with the mayor, with the city of Conyers, and we created a skate park, which is a need, outdoor volleyball courts, which is a need, disc golf course, which was a need, another pavilion, a bigger splash pad, which was a need, an amphitheater, which was a need. So you have a space that you can literally, from 2 to 42, you can go out there and there's something for everyone to do there. So those are just some of the accomplishments that I was able to put my hands on as a director, and just grow the department. I was proud of the work I did. And it left an impact, and that's my thing, is to leave an impact. When I left there, I didn't say much, but I did leave them with 7 words: leave it better than I found it. And that's my goal as I move through and touch the different things that I'm working on.
You approach managing such a wide range of programs and facilities?
You said, how did I approach it?
Yes.
With autonomy, I think it's important. So again, I mentioned to you earlier about my playing career and knowing how to balance personalities. When you're a director and you're managing over 100 people, you're managing nothing but personalities. That's all you're doing. Understanding where a person's weakness is and where their strength is, and then giving them the opportunity to buy into to what you're doing, and to your vision, and to your goal. Allowing them autonomy to do what they're good at, not holding hands, not micromanaging, allowing them to be creative. And when they bring an idea to you, not necessarily shoot it down. If it needs to be fixed, have a conversation on how to improve it. So I think that was my team that I had was amazing. I think that was huge in the development and in empowering them to move forward even after I left the department. you know, I still see traces of the strength that they've been able to do, and some of the ideas that they've been able to form, and the implementation to see it through.
So, when you think about that, and you're saying you're managing more than 100 people, is it safe to say that, let's use a sports analogy,
Okay.
okay? That in managing that, basically in your mind, you were using them as teams and having things just moved around to make sure everybody was operational and functional to complete a task?
There you go. And it's you know, the mind is funny, and nonverbal communication and verbal communication is strong, and little nuances matter. I never called anyone staff. Out of those 100 people, I knew everyone's name. I can go in the field, shake anybody's hand and call them by name, look them in the eye, ask them how their kids are doing. You know, how was the game this weekend? How is the motorcycle coming? How's the table you're building coming along? I knew who my people were, and everyone was a team member. I stress that so many times in all of my leadership meetings. We're on the same team. You have a different responsibility than I have. My job is to get you the resources to perform your job. So that was made, you know, that was drilled into the team's head, and it was something that they were able to catch on to, and like I said, have buy-in, which is more important than anything. Um, and it just simply came from me leading by example. You know, it was a phrase that I used, and I still use it: is I do, we do, you do. You know, I can show you how it's done. We'll do it together. I'm gonna take my hands off and empower you to strengthen your skills and your network, and make it come to fruition that way.
So, what challenges did you face in Rockdale County, and how did you overcome them?
The education challenge was the biggest. Helping people understand the importance of parks and recreation was sometimes a challenge. It still is today for some entities and some organizations. A lot of people, I mean, even playing in parks and recreation. I don't know if you played or anyone who's listening played. Most people think parks and recreation, oh, we just roll out basketballs, footballs, soccer balls, we just play. No, it's a lot to it. It was our back office, our financial back office was busy every day. Like, we paid bills every day. The repair and maintenance of things, you wouldn't believe how much that costs and how often things break, on top of how much people steal that's not theirs. So all that played a part in being able to balance all of that and manage all of that. Just understanding, getting people to understand the education piece of that was probably the biggest challenge, and help them understand how important it is. There were community members that advocated. Everyone, it wasn't all bad. You know, there were many community members that advocated for parks and recreation and understood the value in it. And strangely enough, most of those were the ones with the young kids who were involved in the programs and who utilized the parks heavily. I was also over senior services. They understood the importance. When you become a senior and, you know, you don't have the family that you had because people are transitioning away, going to that senior center was everything to them. When COVID came, it really, you know, you really saw an impact with the senior community, and how much they needed that space and how much they needed that interaction, that day-to-day interaction.
So, is that feedback?
No, I don't hear anything.
Departments shape the quality of life in a community?
By providing the community with the resources for them to have that quality of life. You know, health is wealth. You know, I say that a lot. Health is wealth. You know, if no matter how hard the time is, if you're healthy enough, you're able to go provide and support and do what you need to do to meet whatever needs you may have. Again, quality of life is simple as driving 2 hours to a show, opposed to getting on a bicycle and riding 20 minutes to your park. So being able to make sure all those things were balanced, and understanding and marketing that to the community to help them understand what was in their backyard. You asked about challenges. That was another one. Marketing piece was another one that was pretty tough. We overcame it, but it was pretty tough. It's still some people. Social media is huge, but everyone does not use Facebook. And by us, when I say us, the norm is everything goes on Facebook. I mean, I have to go fish it off. I may not go on Facebook. So if I never go on Facebook, I never see it. So how else can I get this marketing tool out or this marketing piece out about what we're doing or when we have an events or how my program calendar look for the year? Had to be really, really, really creative with that. Real-time surveys was good for us. Billboards work well for us. We don't have Channel 2 Action News east of Atlanta every day unless you see something like tumultuous happen. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes they can tell the narrative for you and you don't want that. So
So how do Parks and Recreation departments shape the quality of life in a community? Did I just ask you that?
yeah, that's the one you just asked. Yeah.
What innovations did you bring to Rockdale County's recreation system?
One of the things we figured very quickly when COVID hit was you had to be accessible without being physically accessible. With that, I added like a 360-degree tour of all the park facilities and all the park locations. So you can go on the computer and take your mouse and spin around and literally, if you wanted to rent a space or rent a room to have a reception in or a birthday party, you can take your mouse and spin around the entire room to see every corner, every wall in that room and not having to go literally spin your gas to do a walkthrough of that location. Making sure the programs were digital, being able to register for programs from afar and not come to the desk to register. So, as I mentioned earlier, technology is going to keep growing. We were able to capitalize on some of the technology that was out there and utilize it and use it to our advantage to help our citizens and constituents get what they needed from the recreation department.
You sound like a great branding person because I'm listening to these different marketing words that you keep throwing out there. How important was branding?
Brandon was everything. And in a lot of my meetings, and this, it was a topic of conversation, and they laugh about it today. And I'm gonna say this, and those who are listening probably can attest. I've never seen the commercial for the peach milkshake at Chick-fil-A. I haven't. Everybody knows when that peach milkshake comes out. They know the time of the year it comes out. They know how long it lasts. They know the price. They know the sizes. But that is quality control that Chick-fil-A has for one particular product. And I use that as a comparison to what we were doing. As we were putting out programs, the quality control had to be at that level and had to be that top quality that people wanted to come back. They looked for the program before we were able to put it out. They knew the time of year when the Halloween festival came. They knew the time of the year that the autumn festival came. They knew the time of the year when it was Easter, they knew it was going to be a ginormous Easter egg hunt. They looked for it. They started looking for it because of the quality control that we were able to maintain and the quality programming that we were able to put on. It served its purpose.
You build trust and collaboration among staff, residents, and stakeholders.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
How did you build trust and collaboration among staff, residents, and stakeholders?
A lot of walking, a lot of footsteps, a lot of meetings. It's building the rapport, and that builds trust when someone's able to see your face and see you at the meetings, at the Board of Education meetings, at the school meetings, at the Boys and Girls Club, at the Board of Commissioners meetings, knowing that I was the face of the department, being able to see me, stop me, know me by first name, it built trust. And, being able to help people when they needed something and they necessarily didn't have the resources. I'm a big believer in, how can I help someone get to the goal that they're needing to get to? Partnering with certain organizations was big for us. One in particular, we did a nice pickleball tournament with every year. And that helped get their brand name out even more because we already had a following. So using things like that was big. It was key into building and strengthening the relationships in the community. So to answer that question directly, the rapport you build is going to come with a lot of footwork, a lot of groundwork, but in the end, it's worth it. And you do a lot of the work in the beginning. You can kind of take a step back as you get those relationships established, and then from that, allow your team members to be a part of that, so that trickles down, and it's not all about you, not all about me, and not all about my face, but the team of Parks and Recreation and what they were able to do.
What advice would you give to future parks and recreation leaders?
You can't do it all by yourself. You cannot control everything, and you cannot catch everything. Um, I always told my team our job was to reduce the opportunity. People are gonna do, be people and do what they want to do and handle things they want to handle the way they want to handle them. But our job was to make sure that we reduce the opportunities for liability, opportunities for neglect, and capitalize on opportunities for growth. So I would say to anyone in this field, understanding what you can and cannot control is important. It's great for the mental health. It's great for the physical health. If not, you'll run yourself in the ground. There are a lot of moving parts in the park and recreation department. Like you have to know a little bit about everything, about water, storm water. If it's inclement weather, park maintenance are responsible for getting chainsaws and cutting trees. Therapeutics was an arm that we had for special needs population. Again, senior center was another area that fell under my purview. The tennis center fell under my purview. That's a lot of moving parts. Anything can happen at any given time. Aquatics fell under my purview. You can have an incident in the same day of someone who falls and break their ankle on the tennis court and someone who nearly drowns in the pool. Them two totally different problems to have. So again, knowing that you can't see everything and you can't control everything, empowering the team under you to understand how to handle those type of situations is the advice that I would give any leader in this field.
Well, from doing this in Rockdale County, and you previously did this in the city of Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell us what's the difference when you were in Atlanta managing the 10 recreational facilities, but then when you go to Rockdale County, you're doing a whole lot, seems like a larger job.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what's the difference in the two, and or do they compare at all?
That's a great question. They do compare. The city has different problems than the county. I'll say that.
Okay.
I'll start by saying that.
Okay.
People in the city of Atlanta are not worried about if they can place their personal clock on an aquatics wall. They're worried about their kids getting home safe and gunshots in the neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? Those are city problems and county problems different. So they did compare. Yes, to answer your question, in the county, I was involved more intimately than I was in the city because the city is such a large machine. It's huge. There were 30 recreation facilities in the city of Atlanta, over 360 parks in the city of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Rockdale has one main recreation facility and 22 parks. Mm-hmm. However, my involvement in Rockdale County was more intimate because I was more front facing with the commissioners, more interactive with the commissioners, more interactive, more control over budget, over capital projects. So I had more responsibility, more autonomy, although the area was smaller. The impact and the amount of work was greater because I was involved in a more intimate fashion, if that makes sense to you. In the city, a lot of things ran themselves from a perspective of, again, it's such a huge organization. We had so many different tiers of management there that someone was there to take care of different things at different times. In Rockdale, all of that was me, but it was just in a smaller setting.
So then, can you tell us what did you learn about community needs while working in Atlanta's recreation system vice what you learned in Rockdale?
Community needs differ from a perspective of and it's just being, straight up transparent. Cities more survival community needs. Rockdale's more entitled community needs. That'd be the best way I can put it. And it's just me being honest. Yeah, the city. I mean, I've had cases where I've come to work in the city, and it was a deceased body in the car in the parking lot at one of my rec centers. I've never experienced that in Rockdale County. Hope Rockdale County never experiences that. However, that was the type of environment that some of those parks were located in the city of Atlanta. There were some rough neighborhoods. I'll give you a perfect example. We did a shoe giveaway one day at one of my facilities in Dunbar, in Mechanicsville. Walked outside, it was a gunfight. So again, you wouldn't face that in Rockdale County, but what you are going to face is, in the course of a week, you can get told by 30 different people that they're a taxpayer and they want this way. So the problems were different, not saying one was better than the other. Of course, dealing with death and homicide is a little different, but the problems are the problems, and you learn how to deal with them, and you learn how to best meet the needs of what's being asked for in the different arenas. But working in both places gave me a great well-rounded experience, of recreation. No matter where I go moving forward, if I go back into recreation, I've probably seen it from working in the city and then working in the county. So
how did the role, this is in Atlanta, how did the role prepare you for executive leadership?
I think leaders are born. I really do. Yes, there are some things that you can learn, but I really think leaders are born. The role in Atlanta prepared me for the curve of understanding the industry of parks and recreation. And once I got into Rockdale and I had knowledge of the curve and knowledge of the industry, my leadership qualities were innate and they just took over and, fell into place. And I was able to lead successfully. So you don't realize things as you're progressing, but like I told you earlier, playing quarterback, then playing point guard, apparently I was thrust into leadership positions at a young age. So I learned how to manage and how to lead and how to direct and how to deal with the adversity and how to pick us up if we fail. So I think, as I got older, I always say the more you do something, the better off you'll be at it. So that was something that stuck with me all the way up through college. I mean, I played point guard in college. So all the way up, I played 1 year professional. I played point guard. So all the way up through, that the more I did it, the better I became at it.
Do you not think that that's the natural, innate part of you that maybe others outside of you could see that you did not see?
At first, I will say yes. Yep. Because I don't think I even asked to play point guard. Yes. Quarterback, no, I didn't ask to play that. I was put there and I learned how to deal with it. And it became something that became second nature to me, just being comfortable in that leadership, knowing that at the end of the day, if something fails, yes, it's on me, and knowing how to accept that and knowing how to deal with that, knowing how and learning how to bounce back from that. And then as you move forward, learning to avoid that. So yeah, that became instrumental in my growth, instrumental in my professional development. And then, getting into the professional world and, attending professional development is very important. One of the biggest conferences of the year in Parks and Recreation is called National Recreation Parks Association. Park and recreation leaders from all over the country gather in one place for a week. And it's a beautiful thing to see so many people doing that profession. And you're able to learn, you're able to take some tidbits back to your community that you may have not thought of before you got there. So again, putting it all together, no one gets anything done by themselves. So, it's not like I'm a genius and I'm this wizard. It all came from development, but with an innate quality in me to be a leader. I believe that, compiling with each other is the end result of what I was able to get done.
The most meaningful programs you oversaw in Atlanta?
One of the most meaningful programs, um, probably Camp Best Friends. The involvement with that. It's a huge summer camp in Atlanta. I can't even tell you the number. It's such a ginormous number of kids from all different locations. But the I will say the city did a great job with that program because everyone was in concert. You may have, again, I told you it was 30 rec centers. You got all 30 rec centers with full of kids for summer camp. Everything was in concert. That's big from a programming perspective, from a standard operating perspective. Everything was in concert. It was always seamless. And the kids were the ones who benefited from it the most because they were able to spend their summers doing something constructive, all the way down to the field trips, all the way down to the STEM activities that they were doing. It all made sense and it all was seamless. So I think that was one of the most meaningful programs that I was involved with in the city of Atlanta.
So with you starting out with Park and Recreations in Atlanta,
Mhm.
that you advanced out to Rockdale County,
Mhm.
to now you're the council leadership person out here in the county, East Metro Atlanta.
Mhm.
As you have the growth, as you walked up those stairs,
Mhm.
can you tell us what was it about leadership and the ideas and the things you wanted to do to focus in community work that made you elevate your game to become this great leader that you are?
Um, I hate losing more than I like winning. That drives me a little bit. So yeah,
Understandable.
that drives me a little bit. That drives me a lot. And so, for me, it's always about improving and bettering myself. You know, you can get a lot done on the job if you work hard on your job. But if you work hard on yourself, you can get a lot done in life. And so that's just the perspective that I took as I walked up the steps and continued to lead. Even my involvement with Leadership Rockdale, becoming a participant and then coming back and then co-chairing the organization. So again, me working on myself, me wanting to see myself in different roles and different capacities in the community was just something that I wanted to do and get accomplished. So.
So let's transition over to leadership development and professional growth.
Mhm.
What does being a certified public manager mean to you?
It comes with a sense of responsibility, being able to be transparent with the public, being able to understand the public policies, the constituents' point of view, um, understanding what's needed from different individuals and how to help them with the resources they may need. You're not going to have all the answers. That's one thing I learned early on. I'm not going to have all the answers, but I may have the resources that you may need, and I may be able to point you in the right direction. So, understanding the balance of no matter how many letters about my name or what I know and what I've been through and who I know, I'm not going to have all the answers. And you heard me say earlier, no one gets anything done by themselves. So, your network is your net worth. So being able to connect with the right people, being able to connect with the right organizations is big. And as a certified public manager, I think that's something that's an intangible that I have. And I think, many certified public managers have that intangible and being able to connect the dots for different folks and different backgrounds.
Leadership Rockdale experience shape your approach to community leadership?
For it shaped my approach with community leadership with somewhat of a paradigm shift. You know, being in a leadership program like Certified Public Manager and Leadership Rockdale, uh, the different backgrounds that's in one room, but we're all professionals and all different problems and all different good things. It helps you. The biggest thing I took from both of those programs was my area is not just the most important area. Being able to step back from a paradigm and see another person's area if and I was able to relate that in-house. So if I have a vendor that's waiting on a check and that vendor hadn't gotten their check and that vendor's frustrated, but there may be something going on in finance that I don't know about. Being able to be patient enough to figure that out and not snap and get upset, because I'm mad at finance because they hadn't cut the check yet and the vendor's upset at me. But being able to balance all that out, that those leadership programs taught me that you never know what's going on in another person's area. And you should do your due diligence to understand and research, first of all, the processes of those areas. So I can't want to educate people if I don't educate myself. So I had to understand the processes of those areas in order to be able to help when those type of issues arise, or help when those problems where somebody dropped the ball, So I just think those programs open my eyes to that, just at a different level of understanding what people are doing, what their day-to-day profession.
Performance leadership look like in practice?
Say that again.
What does high performance leadership look like in practice?
High performance leadership is patience. It's patience, and it's getting the team members under you to think critically, I think. And so with that being said, you cannot, I refuse to figure out your problem. One of the most memorable, that high performance class that I took from NACO, National Association of Counties, the biggest thing that stuck out to me with that program, Colin Powell helped write that program. He told a story when he was in the White House with George Bush, and there's a problem going on with another country. He went into the president's office and said, "Hey, we got to do something about this, and this is happening." And he was just like ecstatic, panicking. And George Bush was looking out the window at a squirrel as Colin Powell was venting. And he told Colin Powell, "Look, the squirrel is getting the seeds that I left yesterday." And Colin Powell, like, he's talking on film, and he's tripping because he's like, "Is this guy not listening to me? I'm telling you, we got a world problem going on, and you're talking about a squirrel." Bush never addressed what he said about the other country or the other nation that was having an issue. And when Colin Powell walked out of that office, he had to stop and say to himself, "That ain't his problem, that's my problem." Being able to help people understand that is important, because if you bring it all to me, I'm not going to be able to solve everything, and I'm not going to be your problem may not be my priority at the moment. So that was always the story that I shared with my team from that class that I took, and it was eye-opening, because that's the truth. When you're placed in a position of leadership, a position of responsibility, it is your job to figure some things out from a strategic perspective, and I always bring it to your leader or your boss. So things like that I was able to take from those programs and implement it in my leadership style, implement it with my team, and it may take a couple of weeks, months for it to catch, but it will catch. And I literally told them about that in the meeting. And I recall two of my team members having an issue, and they came to my office, and I literally said to them, "Look at the squirrel getting the seeds outside." And I didn't have a window in my office. I just was being facetious. But they got the point.
Oh man,
They just got up, they just got up and walked out. They got the point. So I think we better figure this out.
that's funny. I like that though. How do you cultivate leadership in others?
Cultivation is one of those things. I use that word a lot. It's not a one-shot thing. If you plant a flower and walk away, the flower has to get sun, it has to get water. You may have to come till the soil every now and again. Cultivation is you constantly having your hands on it, constantly working on it, constantly looking for processes and ways to improve it. So that's my leadership style. It's constant. Like, it's constant. Every team meeting we have, the way the agendas were set, everything I do from the sports council perspective, it's constant. It's constant. And I don't know if I said this yet. I may have neglected saying this before, but I coached basketball and football for years. I did like 20 something years. When I coached an athlete, I drilled into them what I needed them to know. I needed you to know how to hedge a screen on defense. I drilled it into you. So there was no question about what you were doing. So that's cultivation to me. It's not a let me tell you how to do this one time and then let you go figure it out. It was constant reminding, it was constant examples, it was constant reinforcement, and it was constant guidance. So, me cultivating to be a leader is something that is done every day. And again, the more you do something, the better you will become at it. So being able to tie that back into that statement.
The most important leadership lesson you've learned in the last 5 years?
The most important leadership lesson that I've learned in the last 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
um, leadership is not popular.
That's true.
Not popular. So, um, if you do what's right, everybody's not going to like what you're doing, and that lets you know that you're doing the right thing. So, leadership isn't popular. Um, you'll have lots of good days, and you'll have some bad days. But the thing about that is, a leader can't have a bad day. I can never reflect that I've had a bad day to any of my teams, any of the community members that I collaborate with, and from a sports council perspective. You have to take it on the chin. You have to figure out how to make it work. You have to figure out how not to wear those emotions on your sleeve. So that's the most important thing I've learned. You can't have a bad day. Leadership is not it's not popular.
Stay grounded while leading large-scale initiatives.
Um, Remembering the why, or why we're involved in this initiative. That helps me stay grounded. Knowing what the reason that we're doing this initiative and why this initiative is taking place. A real life example is the park that I mentioned, the lawn at Willard Park. Why are we putting the skate park there? Because it's an ordinance say that you can't skate in the city of Conyers. So where else are they going? This kid's going to get in accidental trouble because they just want to skateboard. So what's the why in that? So that keeps you grounded, keeps you humble. As you come to the hiccups and the obstacles that you face when you're trying to get these projects finished.
Your personal influences, your mother, Barack Obama, and Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us how has your mother shaped your values, discipline, and sense of purpose?
Um, I don't share a lot of things public, but I'll mention this. So when I was young, I was 8 years old. We were on vacation in South Carolina. My father drowned while we were on vacation. And myself, my brother, my sister, my mother, my dad's sister, my dad's sister husband, and their kids were there. You watch that at 8 years old. Um, you know, I look at my life really in three stages. It's adversity, obstacles, and perseverance. That we started with adversity at 8, and as we moved through, some of the problems we made on our own became some of our obstacles. But to persevere through it with the help of God has been big. So my mom had the faith. I watched her go through a time where all of a sudden you're 28 and you got 3 kids by yourself. Just all of a sudden at the blink of an eye. And I can remember when I was 28 with my kids, still didn't know what I was doing. So I can imagine my mother deals with tragedy at 28 and she's trying to figure this out. And the backbone of your family is going away. And so being able to see her navigate through that with dignity, with priority. We were her priority. Like I saw her sacrifice a lot of stuff just so that she knew that we were taken care of. Because we grew up in the city and on the side of in neighborhoods that we lived in, they weren't, such nice neighborhoods. It's trouble to be gotten into there. But she made sure that she kept her hand on us. She stayed close by. She allowed us to explore, allowed us to make mistakes. But for her to not falter, not fold. That's big. So, being able to see that from 8 years old and up, it leaves you with a lasting impact that you have to take with you. You can't, there's no folding. And, I tell people all the time, you never know where a person comes from. So you never know what can break them. So it takes a lot. It's going to take a lot to break me because of what I've seen at such a young age. And like I say, that adversity led to some obstacles. So as you move through those obstacles, it just strengthens your character even more.
I tell you, I mean, I know that I haven't got the opportunity to meet you and know you for a long, long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
But what I gather, from the first time I met you to now you being here on the show, is that resilience is something that's just naturally there with you.
Yeah.
And so what that just shows is that the foundation was strong with you from the beginning. So
Yes.
having that strong foundation only enhanced the natural innate things that are within you.
Right.
And so I think this is why your leadership style and your leadership capacity is so successful, is because being able to lead by example, but getting the job done,
Right.
that's just a natural thing for you.
Right. Right.
It just happens.
Yeah.
So you're one of the few people that's got that blessed talent.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I would all to God. We think our plans are where we're supposed to be and how it's supposed to look. But, every now and again, I have to sit myself down and take a deep breath and say, hey, God has answered every need that you asked for. It's not in your way, but it's answered. Everything that was duped to be a problem or you seen was short, you had more than enough. So, yeah, having that faith. Mom she had unwavering, crazy faith, and so all of us took that from her to this day in our adult lives. We have unwavering and crazy faith. So,
The greatest lesson she taught you about resilience.
no matter how hard it is, get up, put one foot in front of the other. It'll work itself out.
There you go.
Yep.
Um, in what ways has Barack Obama influenced your leadership philosophy?
His class. You just can't forget his class. One of the things I like most about him is for him to be the commander in chief. He's never been in the military. When he was president, he was the commander in chief, never was in the military. However, he was able to listen to those around him with the institutional knowledge. So that's something that I'm able to take from him. Again, I said earlier, I don't know everything. I'm not going to catch everything. I'm not going to see everything. There are people who have more institutional knowledge than me. No matter where I go, they'll have that. And, as a leader, you have to humble yourself to be able to listen, to be a great leader so that you know how to make the best or the most informed decision as you're moving forward with things. So, President Obama, and I don't know him personally, just from what I saw him handle himself with dignity in several situations where he could have responded a different way. I'll say that. And so, that's been big and that's been key for me.
So, what about Obama's journey resonates most deeply with your own?
His humble beginnings. I've heard him tell his story many a times. In Chicago, which again, that's not a nice place either. Not the nicest place, but just his love for what he did and what he was doing, and to see it all the way to the top. I think that's something. And as we talk about this journey I'm on, I'm not close to being done to the steps that I'm trying to get to at the top of where I'm trying to go. So the same with him. I watched him, to make those steps, keep his faith, keep his head down, and when he got the opportunity, he did it with dignity.
Has Michael Jordan's mindset impacted your approach to excellence?
His will to win. I watched him a lot as a kid. I told you I played basketball. That was my favorite athlete. You see him on my wall, him and Kobe behind me. Ali's behind me. But his mindset and the will to win, I haven't seen another athlete uh, with that same thing in them. Just um, sports is different now. You got guys who jump from team to team to team to team, chasing that ring. He literally got drafted to a team, took what he had, and he made it the best 6 times. Like that's like unreal. And in the process, he created a brand that stemmed from basketball. And you see his logo on baseball, football, hockey, track and field. Like he created something different. Like he stepped outside of that box and he created something different. And it came from his 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 will and his spirit to win. You know, I used to watch Mike a lot, and I had a lot of videos, a lot of takes. One of my childhood friends reminded me a couple of weeks ago that that was the only person that was on my wall in my bedroom was Michael Jordan. But it's just just to see that, like I said, that was my era, but to see him accomplish that and build that brand, like that's pretty amazing. So
Do you see between sports leadership and community leadership?
you say, what is the difference or similarity?
What parallels
What
do you
parallel?
see between sports leadership and community leadership?
I think they're interchangeable. That the community, the only difference I would say, the community is going to be larger than the team. That's it. But you're going to have those I call them pockets of people. You're going to have those pockets of people everywhere in every community, doing the same thing. You got pockets of people who get off at 5 p.m. They go straight to the gym. You got those pockets of people who want to come to every meeting and they want to complain about everything. You got those pockets of people who are just positive and trying to help the community. So it's pockets of people going to be everywhere, no matter what community you go in. And it's synonymous with sports. Like you got different personalities. You just got more of those type of personalities. So again, being able to measure yourself and humble yourself and have integrity to deal with all of those pops or pockets of people, it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of patience, and it just takes humility. So I think they're very similar. I've had success with transitioning from my sport upbringing to my professional career. So it's worked well for me.
These three influences, your mother, Obama, and Jordan, intersect in your life.
It's all a culmination of who I am. Being able to take a little bit from each of them, being able to, observe, that person, President Obama from afar, Michael Jordan from afar, but being able to personally observe my mom, in the time of adversity and in the time of obstacles that we had to deal with. It's just something that you can't erase. You can't push out your mind. You can't exclude it from your DNA. That's my pedigree, and that's what I stick by.
Collectively teach you about perseverance and purpose.
Say that again. I missed the first part.
What do they collectively teach you about perseverance and purpose?
Um, there's no such thing as giving up. And what's for you is for you. And like I said earlier, we may think that the path that we're taking is the way that we're going to get to where we're going, but that's our purpose. But us being able to persevere through the ups, the downs, around the corners, it leads us to our purpose. It's just may not be the path that we thought it would be. So again, get up every day, put one foot in front of the other. That's how you get it done.
Let's talk about your vision, purpose, and future. What is your long-term vision for the communities you serve?
My long-term vision for the communities I serve, I want to maximize the opportunities for every community I serve. You know, no matter where that is, that can be, you know, taxes, that can be amenities, that can be economic development, that can be economic impact. But being able to maximize things, I think, are important. It alleviates the stress and strain from a lot of meticulous issues. So, you know, I don't feel that a lot of local governments, a lot of state governments truly maximize what's there. You know, I feel like, and, you know, I'm saying I feel like, but maybe I should say what I have seen and what I have observed is people going through the motions, you know? So if I'm leading that area, those people who go through the motions can't be under me because I won't accept that as an effort.
Legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Um, I think importance weighs more than impact. It's my legacy. I don't care, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, I don't care what letters are behind my name and what title I may get. My grave is going to read my first and last name. So my impact is what I want to leave behind. It weighs more than the important positions that I quote unquote held or may hold in the future. But being able to actually leave something that's attainable, something that's tangible, something that can be grown into something even greater. I think that's what I want to do, and that's how I want to be remembered.
Look, I want to apologize here, but there's some comments here in the chat.
Hmm.
This first one here is Mr. Berta. Berta, I need to put on my glasses. I'm sorry.
Mr.
Uh,
Burt did it.
oh, okay. It says very well said. And this one is from, oh, it says go Uncle Jason. C
I know
Moon, I
what that
think.
is. Yeah, Simani.
Okay. And this other one here is through transparency.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more questions here for you.
Okay.
Um, what advice would you give young black men entering leadership roles today?
Um, First figure out what you want to do. Any, you know, I speak to kids a lot. I just did a presentation a couple of weeks ago at City Hall on one of the local communities, and it was for a high school leadership group. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I give young people is figure out what you want to do and work backwards from there. If you figure out that you want to be a veterinarian, what step is needed right before you get the job to become a veterinarian? What step is needed before that and before that and before that? And when you get down to ground zero, that's where you start. And that helps them to be more intentional. Even I did. You know, young people we get lost. We can't figure it out. We don't know. You know, the sooner you figure it out, the better you'll be. And if you don't, you know, you have time to figure it out. However, you have to keep moving forward. You know, if you want to be a leader, whatever you're doing in whatever capacity you're doing it in, you have to lead. And again, I said earlier, me giving back is not so much with my resources or financial, it's my time, it's my knowledge, it's my experiences that I've been able to give back. So be able to give back and do for you, do for someone what someone did for you.
There's another comment that just popped up here. It's from Tay Donnie. It says, good stuff, Jason.
I appreciate it.
And my final question for you is, what is the next chapter for Jason Redmond?
It's a great question. I want to say, but I don't want to say. Um, I'll say this. My next chapter is, you know, first of all, where God leads me. I've learned to stop and listen to that small voice that talks to me.
Mhm.
Um, and wherever that leads me, um, I want to make sure that I'm doing it to the best of my ability and with full transparency. So I have I guess a thing to whereas I'm gonna keep going until I get to the top. That's just me.
You're already at the top.
Yeah, I ain't there yet, but I'm gonna keep going until I get to the top. And I believe in myself. I believe in the work that I've put in. I believe that God guides me, and He strengthens me even when I'm weak. So, first thing I do before I put my feet on the floor every morning is read scripture, pray. So, that keeps me grounded. Lets me know what I'm doing is the right thing. And again, listening to that little voice. But maybe I'll be back on your show with a different title that's at the top. So,
well, I'll tell you like this. Look, we definitely want you back, but I will tell you this as well. You know, as you're projecting and want to make sure you get it out, just let you know that this platform is here to help you do that.
I appreciate it. Absolutely.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement that you like to leave for our audience, as well as how to connect with you via your social media, your website, all of those good nuggets?
I think some words of wisdom. I'm a simple guy. Is find your passion and follow it. Don't let any. Sometimes you can't tell your dreams to everyone because you got dream killers in the world. So find your passion, follow your passion, and make sure that you're cultivating as you're doing it. That means you have to work every day. You got people who they want to get something done, and when the opportunity presents itself to do it, they fail to meet that challenge where it is. So if you want to get something done, you have to do it every day. I thoroughly believe in that. You have to do it every day. If you want to learn how to tie a tie, you got to get up and tie it every day. If you want to learn how to articulately speak to be on the podcast, you have to practice speaking in that mirror. You have to do it every day and be intentional about it. It doesn't take all day. Spend 5 minutes, spend 10 minutes, whatever you may need. What was your other question beyond the words of wisdom?
Yes, the words of wisdom and encouragement.
And that's it. Just, never stop being a good person because of bad people. That's something that I've had to experience as well. So don't let people change you. Stay who you are. Stay true to yourself, and keep pushing forward.
Okay, well, before we go here and I close out, your brother just put something here in the chat for you. I'll put it on the screen. It says, "We have over 40 years of friendship. You have always been a leader. I remember you off guard." And he says, "I love you, my brother."
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
my
other
brother.
one
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my boy.
And then this one right here, this young lady says, "Preach, Jason." And Muscle Classics just put this in the chat. He says, "We need more community leaders like Mr. Redmond. Great
Yeah,
interview."
yeah, that's my brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Mr. King, and your
What's
platform.
up? Yes, sir. So, in closing, I want to thank you for being here, sharing your story, showing the communities what community leaders look like and how they actually lead. Because there are lots and lots of people that do great things, do extraordinary things like you're doing, but people in the communities really don't get to know these individuals.
Right.
And what we do here at America in Black and White, you exemplify those things as being, that excellent leader, that Black legacy, that Black excellence that we like to display. And I want to thank you so much for that. And so, in closing, I want to say this to the audience as well as to you, Jason. Tonight's conversation reminds us that leadership is not accidental, it is cultivated. It is shaped by the people who raised us, the communities that modeled us, and the purpose that calls us forward. Jason Redmond stands as a testament to what happens when service meets vision, when discipline meets compassion, and when a leader chooses to elevate not just programs, but people. As we honor Black history, we also honor the living history making among us, leaders like Jason who continue to build, uplift, and transform. May we all be inspired to cultivate excellence in our own lives, our communities, and our collective future. This is American Black and White. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King. Good night and keep rising. We will see you guys tomorrow night for another very special show. Thank you again, Jason. Thank everybody for watching.